Hello and welcome to Romero Threads on YouTube, where it's all about embroidery. In today's video, it's all about setting up and selecting the correct hoop for your project. I have 5 hoops here, and the reason why I have these 5 hoops here, these hoops actually match. Okay, they all have the same bracket, the distance of the bracket. So it's about 14 inches. So we got 14 inches here. We have 14 inches here, and I'll tell you why that's important. All right, so we got 14 inches here. Okay, we have this one here, the 4.25. So again, 14. Of course, one of my favorites, the 10 by 10. Okay, about 14. Always when you're setting up your hoops, the fastest way to set it up on your equipment, you always want to put your brackets first. Okay, you always want to put your brackets first. Okay, once you have your brackets, now you're ready to insert it into your machine. All these brackets, they follow the same location. All right, so that's the significance of these. As we get bigger on the hoops, okay, now our brackets starts to increase. So you'll see that with the bigger hoops that we have. So I have a chart right here. I'll actually take a picture of it just so you could get a better angle. And pretty much what this chart is showing is the different sizes on my machine. So I have the Ricoma, and of course, this information can be used on any other equipment and maybe adjusting the numbers so it can match your machine. I just measured the distance of my hoop. So step number 1 here, you want to make sure that your design fits your hoop. Okay, so always make sure you measure your design, measure your hoop, make sure your design fits in your hoop. That's kind of like the obvious one, all right? That's the easy one there. And if you don't have your bracket installed yet, okay, so this is the time where you can put your bracket on. So let's go to the equipment and install the bracket. All right, now that I'm at the machine, okay, so as you see, I don't have any of my brackets installed. If you have your hat hoop, this is the perfect time to remove it. Okay, clear that. And since I have my brackets already set up, all right, I don't have to try to guess where I have to put on my brackets, all right? So everything should just line up. The main thing that you want to see here, okay, so let's kind of analyze here. You want to make sure here on these sides, you're pushing them in that way. Okay, also another key note here, you want to make sure your machine is on, because if it's off, your pantograph graph, so this graph here, if you have it off, it'll shift. Okay, so by it being on, okay, you could push this towards in here, okay, making sure it's perfectly squared. So whatever you have to tighten up here, all right, this is the time where you don't want your bracket to shift. Okay, so of course, righty-tighty, all right, you just want to make sure when you're doing it, your bracket is not shifting. You don't have to lock it in the first shot, but slowly, okay, come back to that first one. Now you could lock it in. And what you want to make sure is here, these, okay, this location, it's flush. So in order to set up your hoop, okay, so I have my design here. You want to go to design set. All right, design set has all these cool features. It has 8 different features here. A lot of these features, you can do it in the software, but some people use these features if they don't want to go back to the software and make adjustments. Okay, I wouldn't recommend it. I would always recommend making your adjustments on the software and then bringing it in. But I do use 2 features here that are very important. Okay, so let me show you the one. This one here, the F, you can just rotate your design. Whatever you do, do not use this right-hand side, okay? Because that's gonna mirror and flip the design. Unless really necessary, unless you intentionally want to flip your design, you wanna mirror your design, okay? That's this right side. Go back here, and I use, of course, the one that selects the hoop. So that chart that I created, it pretty much matches these hoops right here. Okay, so it's telling you which hoop to select, and these are all in millimeters. So in my chart that I have up right now, you can see where I have adjusted the millimeter readings to inches. All right, so here I have a 5.5, so I want to match the hoop that closely matches that design. So my hoop here, 5.5, matches hoop C. All right, so when you push hoop C, that's gonna reset as soon as I push OK. So let me show you when I push OK. So as soon as I push OK, all right, it's gonna reset itself. All right, so now it's in the center. So this next step, okay, this is the most important step out of everything, okay, because this is where you're gonna make sure that your equipment is safe and this presser foot is not gonna hit anything here. And what I like to do 3 traces, especially a brand new design, a design that I just put on the machine. All right, I always want to do 3 traces. Okay, the first trace, very important. What you're doing here, you're physically looking, making sure this needle, okay, this area is not going over anywhere close on the outside boundaries of this hoop. Okay, so once again, all right, so this is all happening on the first trace. Okay, so once trace number 1 is good, your second trace, you're going to want to bring down the presser foot. Now that you know you're cleared, now you bring down the presser foot and you double check. Make sure you are not too close to the hoop. So the first trace is just a trace without pushing this down, just to verify you are within boundary. Your second is you're gonna push down the presser foot, okay? And then the third, you just do it again just in case, okay? You're just doing it in case, and you're listening for anything that's shifting, okay? That's really what that third one is doing. You're just looking for anything that does not look normal. So let's go through my handy chart here. Okay, so this here is the 4.25. So you always want to make sure, all right, so once again, you always want to make sure your design fits in this area. Okay, so that's always step 1, make sure your design fits in this area. Step number 2 is match your hoop with the hoop size on your machine. So on this one, so I have an arrow pointing at both hoop B or hoop C. I have an option, I usually go with hoop C, but you can go with hoop B. And of course, you're always going to trace 3 times. So that's kind of like the steps for every hoop. Okay, here I have the 10 by 10, okay, 10 by 10 hoop. So this hoop closely matches my hoop E, okay? So my hoop E is about 10.6 by 10.6. So that fits within 10.6, okay? This one here, very popular. I use this one for a bunch of bags. All right, now this one here, very, very popular. Okay, this is the 8 by 13. Okay, I've used this a lot on towels. Anytime I'm doing a big name, okay, this one is my perfect one to go with. When you look at my chart here, okay, this is a 8 by 13. Letter E, 10 by 10. Okay, it'll be a little short. It'll come a little short here. So I'm going up to the next size. So it looks like hoop F, okay, is the closest, the next size up. That's a pretty big size that we're going with on the hoop size. Okay, so as long as you follow those 3 steps, which are make sure your design fits in this hoop, select a hoop that matches. Okay, so in here, hoop F, and 3, you're going to trace 3 times. All right, that's fail proof right there. Okay, as long as you follow those 3 steps, okay, we should be good. Okay, this one here is the sleeve. Okay, this one here, I do have a tutorial coming real soon on doing sleeves on jackets. Okay, so this one, as you can see, this is a 4.25 by 13. Okay, so this is equivalent. Okay, this is equivalent to something a little bigger height-wise. Okay, like this. This is the 10. Okay, so if we're talking 13, we're talking an extra 3 inches here. All right, so height-wise, you want a hoop that's gonna match something height-wise. Okay, width, we're pretty good because 4.25, pretty much a lot of these hoops can match 4.25, but you want to check out which one matches this height. I would go with hoop F. It gives you that distance from height wise. Okay, but now notice that in reality, hoop F, all right, you actually have a field that expands all the way big. All right, so very important. Do not just select hoop size with first confirming 100% confirmation that your design fits this hoop. Okay, so these 3 steps, it only works if step 1 is accomplished. If your design fits this area. Okay, so you really don't want to trace this if your design is too big. Okay, make sure, step number 1 is always make sure your design fits the hoop. We got the Mack truck here. This is the 13 by 16. Once again, okay, always make sure you measure your hoops, okay, and you give yourself a 1/2 inch clearance, okay, at least a 1/2 inch. All right, just double check, make sure that you're giving yourself enough clearance just so your presser foot, okay, never comes in contact with your hoop. So on this one, the 13 by 16, all right, so you can see on the chart, same thing, okay, I'm going with that hoop F. All right, and then let's look at this one. This one here is my go-to one when I'm doing jacket backs, especially names, okay, names on jacket backs. Okay, this is the 10 by 19. Okay, same thing. Okay, you're gonna put a name right here. You always verify first, does my design fit the hoop? And for this one, same thing, hoop F. All right, so really, anytime I go above, once I go beyond this 10 by 10, as you saw, I'm really going to hoop F. All right, so this 10 by 10, I use letter E, and with anything above that, I'm starting to go with letter F. And of course, the world famous 5.5. For this one, of course, we're using letter C. And then for this 10 by 13, okay, this is the 10 by 13. All right, so the 10 by 13, we're looking at about 19.5. All right, so we have 3 different bracket sizes, okay? This one here is at 19.5. This one here is a little bit below 24, so these 2 are below 24. And then the other ones that I showed you earlier, okay, those are all at 14 inches. These distances are your most common ones. This is all information that I use, that I've gathered, okay? Anytime I gather information, I like to write stuff down. And then if anybody asks me any questions, then of course I'm gonna share it. If you have any tips, tricks, or anything that makes you more efficient, move faster, okay, feel free to share it down below. All right, if you have any additional questions, okay, we can always make part 2s, part 3s on Mighty Hoops on any type of information. So till the next time, peace out.